So these trucks right here, they are over $100,000, and I'll whip you around right here. This, the cheap version of these F-150s, this is $55,000. See, here in the car market, we've entered into the end of an era, and for a lot of you, you would say it even extends to our economy or even our way of living. And what we've entered into is the end of affordability, the end of reliability. We have banks that are extending loans, the loan terms, just so people can afford to make a monthly payment on one of these vehicles. We have manufacturers that, in my opinion, are making, at this point, disposable vehicles where everything that's coming off the line is junk. And this is not just my opinion. I mean, I'm standing here on a Ford dealership lot where you can look at the numbers. And if you buy a brand new Ford vehicle right now, there's a very high likelihood that that Ford vehicle is going to come standard with some kind of defect that they have to fix and actually recall. So here's the thing. All of these things that I just talked about are going to bring in a new era here in the car market, one that I'm going to live and breathe and have to experience myself as a small used car dealer, because what I believe is actually going to happen is because of the end of the era of affordability and reliability across a lot of these manufacturers. And I'm on a Ford lot, but it's not just Ford, it's all the manufacturers. With them making these disposable vehicles that aren't going to last as long, we've already seen it. They're putting these smaller motors in these big trucks, and they're putting them with turbos. They're going to get overloaded by people actually using them. They're imploding on themselves. All of these motors that we're seeing getting recalled, it's the same problem. It's these turbo motors. We saw Toyota have to go through and replace a lot of motors. A lot of other manufacturers following suit, and this is not the route that creates longevity for a lot of these vehicles. And the reason why I talk about the end of an era and the demise of what might come here later, and even for me, is that it makes it to where vehicles that are being produced right now are not going to last 10, 15 years like the used cars that we're seeing right now that I buy and sell. See, I'm a small used car dealer. I buy and sell cars that are $5,000 and under. So what does that mean? Well, I have to buy older, higher mileage cars to be able to serve my consumer and what they're able to afford. And I mean, so what am I buying right now? I'm buying 2010 Ford Escapes, Ford Explorers. I'm buying Camrys that are from 2005 up to like 2009. These are the type of vehicles that I actually buy for my customers. And what I worry going forward is that, okay, that 10 to 15 to even 20-year-old vehicle 10, 15 years from now is not going to be worth me actually buying to be able to resell. And the reason why I'm coming here to Ford is because I think they're one of the biggest offenders. And I can give you examples of what we're even seeing right now in the market of vehicles that are just disappearing because they're not worth buying and reselling, or buying and fixing and then reselling. They're vehicles that we won't buy. Myself, I go to auctions, buy cars. Alex, my mechanic, goes to auctions, buy cars. There are some vehicles that are now 10, 12 years old that we won't even touch. And that's a small percentage of the vehicles that are out there now. But as this production, as manufacturing cuts more corners, as quality goes down, as a lot of these recalls that we're seeing become big-time problems in a lot of these vehicles as they put on years and as they put on miles, we're going to see more of the population of vehicles that re-enter the used car dealer space that I have to deal with. The quality and the ability for us to be able to buy them is going to go down and down and down and down. And I can throw out a few examples of what we experience now. Some of the easier ones are like the newer body style Ford Escapes. I'm on Ford, so I can give you a new Ford example. I would much rather have like a 2008, 2009 Ford Escape versus I can't remember what year they changed it. It was like 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. But whenever they switched to that newer body style, they also switched motors, they also switched transmissions, and they were absolute garbage. So much so that if we see one at auction, we won't even buy it. And here's the problem. Even with those vehicles, even if they go for $300-400, I still can't buy them. I don't even look at them because we know that there's a high likelihood that I'm either going to have to replace the motor or the transmission in that vehicle. And here's the thing, we can only sell it for $4,000, $4,500, $5,000. And if we have to put a motor or a transmission in that thing, it's going to cost just about that amount for us to fix that vehicle. So it makes no sense for us to buy that car because there's just not going to be any money left over on the other side. Even if it was given to me for free, there's time, there's risk, there's money that's going to go into the backside of that vehicle. I can give you another example. Any of these like Nissan Altimas that are over a 2006. See, I've bought lots of Nissan Altimas over the course of me being a used car dealer, and they've been 2006 or older. And when they went to that 2007, well, they started putting CVTs in them. That's the transmissions that don't change gears, right? And what ended up happening is all these transmissions were absolute garbage. So you can go to a used car dealer auction. If you see a 2009 Nissan Altima right beside a 2006 Nissan Altima, they run next to each other through the lane. You'll see that the 2006 Nissan Altima will actually bring more money. It will go for a higher amount at these used car dealer auctions than that 2009 will. And there's an easy reason for that. All these other car dealers know the exact same thing that I do. That 2009 is absolute garbage, and they know that they're going to have to fix it. They know they're going to probably have to put a transmission in it. And that 2006, because it doesn't have the CVT in it, they're not going to. So the 2006s go for a lot more money than the 2009s do. And here's how things progress through the car market, whereas a lot of this junk inventory that's being put onto dealer lots now, what these manufacturers are putting out 10 years from now, when I have to buy it, 15 years from now, when I have to buy it, it might be that the motors, the transmissions, and then we add in one more important feature to a lot of these brand new vehicles. Well, they all have to have backup cameras. A lot of them have these big screens that a lot of consumers actually want right now in these new vehicles, and those are going to be very costly. So what I'm facing with now is the big problem with the like mid-teens era vehicles that I'm so scared of. It's only motor and transmission. But now when we get 10 years from now and I'm dealing with a lot of these vehicles that are coming out right now, the screens I feel like are also going to be a very similar price point, because these infotainment centers, they control everything in the vehicle, and they're so big that they're going to be so much money that I feel like they're going to be just as costly as these motors, as these transmissions, to actually replace and put into a lot of these vehicles. And that's all this tech. There's going to be a lot more small problems we have to deal with, sensors, all these things like that. And this is my big worry, is that a lot of these vehicles, I mean, think about a Ford Escape that's being put out right now. They're selling them for $35,000, $40,000. 15 years from now, it's going to have 150,000, 175,000 miles on it. It's going to be worth only probably $7,000, $8,000 whenever it makes itself to the wholesale market. And if the motors, the transmissions, the screens don't hold up, even just one of those things, a transmission, let's say, because we already know that Ford Escapes, even the teens level that I'm looking at, their transmissions are notorious for being absolute garbage. Newer ones, probably even worse. But whenever they get to that price point and they get to that mileage, they get to that year amount, well, it's going to be that, okay, it might be worth $7,000, $8,000, but in all likelihood, you're going to have to replace a transmission in it either now or very soon when you hit that 150, 175,000 mile mileage on it. And then the transmission is going to be way more than they even are right now. And right now, for one of those newer Escape transmissions, paying $5,000, $6,000, it's going to be even more than that. So then at that point, it gets to the point where you can't buy the car and make money on it, because you're going to have to put so much money into repairs. And a lot of these manufacturers, it's, in my opinion, it feels like it's by design, because what do they want to do? Well, you follow the money. They don't want you to buy a used car. They want you to keep on buying brand new cars. So if all these cars are just being really phased out because they won't last very long, well, a lot of consumers are not going to have the option. Well, you go buy a junk Ford Escape that's going to fall apart. The transmission's going to need to be redone very quickly, or just go buy a brand new one again. So you just follow it until the warranty goes off, and then you buy another one. That's what I worry about me as a small used car dealer and a lot of other car dealers. And here's the thing. Don't shed a tear for me. In 10, 15 years from now, I don't want to be a used car dealer. For a lot of you, if used car dealers go away, you're going to be celebrating, no problem. And I think probably the other side of that, if you do have a different model in the car market where dealers aren't really doing what they're doing right now, you get more direct to consumer, we get some kind of legislation that allows manufacturers. I think that's actually better for the consumer. A lot of people would argue otherwise, but I think for most consumers that actually would be a net positive. So I'm not trying to defend used car dealers here. I'm just saying how the products are being made right now. It is a setup for disaster for small car dealers just like myself, because these vehicles are being made so cheap, they're being made so disposable, that you're just not going to see a viable business solution for cars that are 10 and 15 years old in 10 and 15 years from now. And we're already seeing signs of that in the early teens cars that I'm going through here in the car market just in general right now. And I know what, like a lot of you say, well, we know Ford's a junk product, we're just not going to buy it. Wouldn't everyone else do the exact same thing? When you see the recall numbers, when you see all the problems that new vehicles coming out of Ford are going to have, and you can see that Ford is intentionally making these things where they're going to be junk later on, and you just have to buy a brand new one. Well, wouldn't people just stop buying them because they're not going to trust a company that does that? Well, hasn't been that long ago that Apple, the iPhone, they actually released some software to greatly slow down the product, and it was found in a lot of lawsuits that it actually seemed intentional. And they paid like $500 million, I think, for this lawsuit. It's a big class action thing, and big time problems for Apple, and a lot of the consumers felt betrayed by Apple. But guess what? People are still buying iPhones, even though the company did this to try to get more money, try to get them to upgrade to the new phones. People still did it. So here's the thing. People, even as bad as Ford looks on paper, even as bad as these recalls are from all these manufacturers, even as people will say, driving into a Ford lot, oh, these Fords are junk, I don't want to buy them. As soon as they sit in one and see the monthly payment and they feel like they can actually afford it, they buy it. So there's not going to be any change that actually comes from the consumer side to help things out. And this is why this era that has been destroyed, the era of affordability, the era of reliability, is going to be gone forever, and why a small used car dealer like me is most likely not going to be able to exist 10, 15 years from now, is because at the end of the day, it's all about the money, and the only person that can change what it's all about is the consumer. They can only vote with their pocketbooks, with their wallets, with the money that they spend. And if they continue to buy vehicles that are subpar and being produced with corners that have been cut, and all of these things that I've talked about quite a bit here in this video, nothing's going to change. Because why would Ford want to make less money and make a better product? Makes no sense for them. Who's their boss? Shareholders. What shareholders care about? Stock price going up. It's all about the money. It's all that's mattered. It's all that ever matters.